You probably saw that Kenny Loggins, the artist, slammed President Donald J. Trump for using his song Danger Zone in that AI video, right? Where Trump with the crown and the fighter jet is rather puerilely, let's say, comically dropping feces bombs on who was it? Harry Sisson, Will Stancil, I think, the sort of No Kings protesters. And of course, you might have seen that JD Vance shared Harry complaining about why would Donald Trump, the president, share this, and then JD Vance, our vice president, said, "I'll ask him for you." But Kenny Loggins was quite upset by this, and I want to look at his statement. So his statement is an attempted moral high ground maneuver, high ground persuasion. You might call it manipulation to try to like edge out our own president. And we're going to analyze how he did and how it did not work out. Okay, so this is from Variety. Quote, Kenny Loggins, "This is an unauthorized use of my performance. That's PR speak. Doesn't sound like a person. It sounds whiny. That's not fair. Stop taking my stuff. Kenny Loggins, that's the best you can do is whining. This is unauthorized use of my performance. That's what someone in HR says, okay? The teacher's pet. That's not authorized. That's against the rules. That's not fair. Kenny Loggins? Really? Really? We go on. Kenny says, "Nobody asked me for my permission, which I would have denied, and I request that my recording on this video is removed immediately. I can't imagine why anybody would want their music used or associated with something created with the sole purpose of dividing us." I thought it was hilarious. A lot of the people in the country came together to laugh over that. "Too many people are trying to tear us apart. We need to find new ways to come together. We're all Americans and we're all patriotic." I don't know if you saw, but a number of the viral videos from the No Kings protest showed people celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. As you know, I knew him, and I was on the show several times, met him, had a number of private conversations with him, great guy. And I don't want to unite with those people. We saw so many signs, protesters, speakers getting cheers all across the country. 7 million people allegedly showed up. I think the biggest protest ever was the Earth Day protest of 1970, I believe, in which 20 million people took to the streets, kind of in the context of Vietnam and the hippies and environmentalism and all that. A lot of stuff going on there. We had a lot of people, mostly boomers, showing up and celebrating the assassination attempts of Donald J. Trump and calling for more, of course, as they do, and celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk and others who have suffered at the hands of left-wing radicals. So that's what's pretty divisive. That's what's divisive. So what we have here is it's like a year zero attempt where the context of this puerile video, let's say admittedly childish, right? Video dropping poop on protesters, which is okay. That's like schoolboy humor. Okay. Why does that video exist? Why do so many people think it's funny? Why is the president sharing it? Why does the president have a crown on? Why is the right not taking the left seriously? These are the questions that have to be asked. But this issue from Kenny over here, it's like everything that the right is upset about has never happened. And that's had these calls for unity. And he says, continuing his statement, "There's no us and them. That's not who we are." That's like a therapist says. This is not who you are. I expect better from you. Right? That's like what your school marmy therapist says to you in marriage counseling. By the way, marriage counseling is basically hospice for relationships, as you know. It's all of us. We're in this together, and it's my hope that we can embrace music as a way of celebrating and uniting each and every one of us. So, Kenny Loggins, have you missed all of the artists, band members who have celebrated the assassination attempts on Donald J. Trump, who've called for his murder, who've called for the murder of his family members, who've called for the murder of his administration? with great cheers and applause. I mean, there's an entire chapter in this book that I co-authored with Jack Posobiec called Bulletproof. Donald J. Trump, our president, endorsed this book, by the way, right before the election. It's the first and only book covering the truth about the assassination attempts on his life. It's more detailed than the Senate and congressional committees, subcommittees on the matter. Can you imagine? Joshua Lisec and Jack Posobiec did better than the federal government. Though to be fair, McDonald's is better than the federal government, okay? If you've ever been to a BMV or DMV. You know. Okay. And that's not even feds. Sheesh. It just gets worse from there. All right. So what we have here is, number one, this rejection is saying it's not right that you're doing this. It's not fair. And then this talking about unity and whatnot. And it's as if Kenny Loggins has no idea what's going on. I just know somebody took it. My friends are unhappy with the video, and let's have peace and unity. It's a context-free statement. So when you're attempting to do this unity thing and claim moral high ground, you got to know what's going on. You got to know what's going on. There was a user who parodied the statement from Kenny Loggins and put in quotes, let's see, Noble Brown at Sociopathlete. Well, that's a name. On Twitter, now called X, of course. So in quotes, he said, yes, this is it. Now is my chance to virtual signal my way back into another gig. Please, God, anything will help. My second wife took all the Amway money. I can't lose the house and move out of Santa Barbara. What will all the other C-list boomers think of me? That's a fantastic take on the subtext of this. Because Kenny Loggins, or rather his PR team or whoever wrote this, don't really seem to have any concept of what's going on, like I said. What would a proper moral authority high ground play be? What would it have been? Well, if I wanted to be manipulative from Kenny's perspective, I'm going to give him a little bit of advice. I'm giving advice to the left? Joshua Lisec? No way. Well, I think that there's things you can learn from this. So instead of making it's my performance, somebody asked me, I request that we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 uses of first person by Kenny in his statement to open it. I, me, my, mine, I. So it's all about him. And then the call for unity stuff is like corporate marketing, HR, therapy speak. Okay. If Kenny wanted this to have worked, he needed to have brought the fire, not the ire. Okay. The fire would have been something like, and using adverbs, I unequivocally condemn, and then what he specifically wanted to condemn, rather than making it all about him. He took my song. It's not fair, right? It's just whining, right? It's just, okay, great. What is that famous line? Okay, boomer. That's how it should have begun if he wanted to be taken seriously. I unequivocally condemn. Use that adverb in there. I completely condemn, something like that. And then something like, I completely condemn this attempt by the president to humiliate patriots protesting in the streets, because he used the word patriots, right? Something like that. Patriots peacefully protesting. Get that alliteration in there. You see how much better that sounds? I unequivocally condemn the president, and he could have even said Trump or President Trump. Offering the title shows that you take him seriously, take his office seriously. I always tried to say when Biden was President Biden, to show that I do not respect the man, but I respect the office, which is a little signal to the right that I don't hate you, I just don't like you. Imagine, you could just hear how much better that sounds. I unequivocally condemn President Trump for this failed attempt, you could even add the adjective in there, to humiliate patriots protesting peacefully. And then you can put in your crap about the song and whine about that. But that's it makes it all about himself, so nothing he says matters. It's all about himself, right? So, okay, Kenny Loggins, leftists, C-tier boomers, as Noble Brown says, if you want to be taken seriously, you got to understand the moment. And he even could have done like a reach across the aisle and thing and said something to the fact of that he sympathizes with the Kirk family, he sympathizes with even with the Trump family for the multiple assassination attempts that they and others on the right have survived, that they have gone through a lot. And then when he calls for unity, he can do the Senator John Fetterman thing, where he's able to show that he cares, right? when John Fetterman says he sympathizes and Charlie he believed in free speech or whatever, rather than just making it this sort of airy fairy reality free, let's just all come together, kumbaya, and be happy. It's a reality rejection situation where there's no context. Like I said, it's a year zero situation where Kenny Loggins' statement does not connect to anything that's coming from before. Why do we think it's funny that Donald Trump is wearing a crown in this? Why do so many people think it's funny? Childishly so, yes. It's a poop joke. Okay, what are you, 9? Okay. I can say that. If you want to manipulate people, you got to do it right. Kenny Loggins is not it, but of course, we can learn how to do it correctly from Joshua Lisec. That's Daily Persuasion.